Hey, friends, welcome to episode 12 of Rethinking Grading, where we will talk about some adjustments that will be made to the current grading system at SST. I first want to address why we're making these adjustments. First, of course, is it comes back to our guiding principles on making sure that grades are as fair, accurate, and helpful, that is to say, focused on learning, as they can be. This is also because we've listened to students, parents, caregivers, and staff members who have noted and pointed out ways that we can improve this system. And it's also the approach that we've adopted, which is ready, fire, aim. Over the summer, I was able to test out the system, but that was one person looking at one fake student in one class. We now have 3 months. We have scores of staff members. We have hundreds of students. We have many parents, caregivers who have been taking a look at all of this. They have given some really great insight into how to make these adjustments. So we are now looking forward to making those adjustments. As far as who was involved with this, we had 9 students through some focus groups during and after school gave their feedback on this. All teachers had conversations about these changes during PLCs. 7 parents, caregivers through after school meetings gave their input on many of these ideas, and all administrators have been involved during multiple grading focused meetings. So now let's talk about what the actual changes would be. One that were considered, I should say. We considered looking at work habits, FO grades, the grade developing, transcripts, unsatisfactory grade, as well as the advanced grade. And I'd like to go through and just to touch base and explain each one of those in more detail, as well as what the ultimate determination was for those. So first of all, for work habits, one of the concerns that came up is just a question of should work habits factor into a student's FO grade? There are some people that feel very strongly on either side of this question. It's also important to note that in our current system, until all standards are addressed in a class, the work habits standard can have an outsized impact on the FO grade. So that raised a question about what should we do with work habits. The determination by the administrative team was that we will make no change for how things are for this year. However, we are going to look into the data about work habits and the impact that it has on students' FO grades. I'll be able to share that data next week. We're also going to look into other ways that we could record and report work habits. And there's some interesting ideas there. But again, that's work that will be continuing throughout the rest of this year. For this year, there will be no changes made. For FO grades, the concern that came up, or really rather a question, was should we remove the FO grade for each course just to put the focus only on the standards? This is an idea that came from a teacher. The determination ultimately was that we will make no change, that there will in fact continue to be an FO grade visible and available for students, families, and teachers. Another of the ideas or the questions that came up had to do with the range of developing. That range is currently from a 65 to a 79. That is, of course, for traditional assessments that still give percentages. So the question is that range too large? The determination by the admin team was that we will make no change. Part of this has to do with the idea of letting go of a traditional system that is based on percentages and focusing again on skill level for that. So again, for this year, there would be no change made to developing. In terms of transcripts, one of the things that I'd like to point out is even though that this isn't directly related to the new grading system, it's something that a guidance counselor suggested. The way that it stands right now is that SST's transcript currently shows a cumulative GPA. It does not yet display a GPA specifically for each grade. So the question is, should we do that? The determination is that we will continue the cumulative GPA, but we will also add a yearly GPA to the transcript. The thinking with this is especially for students, all of our students will have essentially 2 different grading systems for their transcripts. They'll have some that will be in a traditional system. They'll have some that are in the new grading system. Having a GPA for each year helps to bundle together at a quick view for students, for families, for colleges, what the progress has been from one year to another. In terms of unsatisfactory, the concern about this grade is that PowerSchool currently converts a failing grade, unsatisfactory, to a 64% when it does its calculations. Last year, PowerSchool converted failing grades to a 50%. Now, what that means for this year is that a student could have one standard at proficient, 21 at unsatisfactory, and still pass the course with developing. And obviously, that is not a very accurate reflection of a student's ability if they are passing a course and they're failing 21 standards. So the determination is that we're going to switch the value of unsatisfactory from 64% to what it was last year, which was 50%. We're also going to implement a month-long no harm policy when it comes to things like eligibility. All right. So, in other words, if the reason a student is ineligible is simply because of this change, that student will have 4 weeks to be able to revise, redo, and get where they need to be. Advanced is one of the other ones that we looked at for these changes. And the concern with this is that PowerSchool currently converts advanced FO grades to a GPA of 3.5. And a parent caregiver pointed out that if we wanted to stay in line with the old GPA system, it would be more fair for this GPA to be moved to a 3.7. The admin team determined that we will, in fact, switch the value of advanced from 3.5 to 3.7. Now, that's what took place. As far as when are these changes going to take place, especially when it comes to the change for unsatisfactory and advanced. The changes will be happening on Friday, December 8th at 2:30 p.m. I will make those changes. I also now want to speak a little bit about how this process is going to play out. First of all, before I make the changes, I'm going to run a report through PowerSchool that will allow me to gather every single student's FO grade in every single course. I will then make the changes. I will then run that same report to get every single FO grade in the school after I make the changes. That will then allow me to compare the results, to measure the impact of the changes, and also to identify those students who should be held harmless in terms of eligibility. The big takeaways then, folks, I just have two for you. One is that these changes are about making grades more fair, more accurate, and focused on learning. That's always been the guiding principle for what we're trying to do here. It's not about grades being high or grades being low. It's about them reflecting students' skill levels in all of their courses. And it's important to note that most students will not be impacted by these adjustments. Those that do will have a 4-week grace period before we get even close to the end of the semester. As always, folks, if you have questions or concerns, please reach out to me. There's my email, my phone number, and the website has some additional information. Thanks for your time. If you have any questions, please reach out.